My daughter Amanda said, "You'll embarrass us at the wedding, Mom. Maybe you should just stay home. Vivian's family expects a certain level of sophistication." The next morning, I canceled the $35,000 venue where she'd already sent 200 invitations, losing $15,000 in penalties but saving the remaining $20,000. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. What she didn't know was that I was just getting started. I stood in the corner of elegant bridal boutique, my shoulders hunched as I clutched my plain leather purse. The boutique's crystal chandeliers cast shadows across my department store sweater and sensible shoes. I'd spent weeks designing a wedding dress that incorporated 4 generations of family lace, pouring my heart into every stitch. "Mom, you're finally here," Amanda said, her voice tight. She stood on a pedestal surrounded by mirrors, the half-finished dress clinging to her slim figure. Her future mother-in-law, Vivian, sat on a velvet couch, her Chanel suit impeccable, her eyes critical. "Sorry I'm late," I murmured. "The bus was delayed." "The bus?" Vivian's perfectly penciled eyebrows rose. "Surely you have a car service." Before I could answer, Derek, Amanda's fiancé, checked his Rolex. "We're running behind schedule. The caterer meeting is in an hour." Amanda stepped down from the pedestal, pulling me aside. I could smell her expensive perfume as she leaned close. "Mom, look at how you're dressed, how you talk." Her voice dropped to a harsh whisper. "You'll embarrass us at the wedding. Maybe you should just stay home. Vivian's family expects a certain level of sophistication." The boutique blurred as tears filled my eyes. 68 years old, and my only child was ashamed of me. I'd given her everything after my husband died, retreating into the background of my own life. "I understand," I said quietly. "Excuse me for a moment." In the hallway, my hands trembled as I pulled out my phone. 3 quick calls, one to my bank, one to Rosewood Manor, and one to my lawyer. When I returned, my back was a little straighter. 20 minutes later, Amanda's phone rang. She answered with an irritated, "Hello?" Her face drained of color. "What do you mean canceled?" "No, that's impossible." She looked at me, confusion replacing her usual disdain. "The venue says someone just canceled our reservation and paid the penalty fee. They've already booked another wedding." "That's unfortunate," I said, my voice steadier than it had been in years. "Mom, we have to fix this. The invitations are already sent." Panic edged her voice. "I can't help you. Amanda, I've just paid $15,000 to cancel a venue I was secretly funding." "You? But Derek's family is paying for everything," she stammered. The wedding planner burst through the door, face flushed. "Amanda, what's happening? The Rosewood just called me." I picked up my purse and walked toward the door. "Ask your daughter why she told everyone Derek's family was paying when I've funded every deposit so far." I paused at the doorway. "And why she thinks I'm too embarrassing to attend my only child's wedding." As I stepped outside, my phone buzzed with incoming calls. I silenced it and hailed a taxi. For the first time in 5 years, I gave the driver the address of Wilson Bridal Couture's headquarters. It was time to remind myself, and everyone else, exactly who Margaret Sterling Wilson really was. The following week, I sat at my kitchen table surrounded by financial statements and legal documents. After canceling the venue, I decided to review my entire financial situation. Amanda hadn't called since the fitting disaster, but Derek had left 6 increasingly desperate voicemails about discussing wedding arrangements. A knock at the door interrupted my organizing. It was Elena, my former protégé and now senior partner at Wilson Bridal Couture. "Margaret," she embraced me warmly. I nearly fell off my chair when reception said you'd called. "It's been too long," I admitted, ushering her into my modest living room. 5 years of hiding was enough. Elena glanced around my small apartment with knowing eyes. "Still living like this when you could have—" "I know," I cut her off. "But after Robert died, I needed simplicity." We settled at the kitchen table, where my papers were spread out. Elena picked up a quarterly dividend statement from Wilson Bridal Couture and whistled. "You really haven't been checking these, have you? The company's value has tripled since you stepped back." "I've been depositing them without looking," I admitted. "Amanda thinks I live on Robert's pension." Elena's expression darkened. "About Amanda. The industry is buzzing about the Rosewood cancellation. People are asking questions." I sighed and moved to my desk in the corner. "I need to show you something." I opened the family laptop, the one Amanda and Derek had been using for wedding planning when they visited. Amanda never logged out, assuming I was too technologically inept to check her emails. "Read this thread," I said, turning the screen toward Elena. Elena's eyes widened as she scrolled. "Once we're married, we need to address the mother situation," she read aloud. That riverside place looked perfect. She'd be comfortable but out of the way for entertaining. She looked up, horrified. They're planning to put you in assisted living without even discussing it with you? They made a deposit already, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. They were planning to transition me after their honeymoon. Those ungrateful little... Elena stopped herself. What are you going to do? I straightened my shoulders, feeling a strength I hadn't accessed in years. First, I've moved all my assets into protected accounts. My lawyer is updating my will as we speak. Elena smiled slowly. And second, I think it's time Margaret Sterling made a comeback. I pulled out a sketch I'd been working on. Starting with this, Elena studied the design, a revolutionary bridal concept I'd been developing in secret. The industry has missed your genius, she whispered. When do we start? We already have, I said, feeling the first genuine smile cross my face in years. And this time, I won't be hiding in the shadows. Later, after Elena left, I found myself studying my reflection in the bathroom mirror. The woman staring back looked tired, diminished. I straightened my posture and lifted my chin. There she was, glimpses of Margaret Sterling, the woman who had revolutionized bridal fashion, not Margaret Wilson, the embarrassing mother who should stay home. Tomorrow, I would call my hairdresser. It was time to look like myself again. 3 weeks after the venue cancellation, I walked into Wilson Bridal Couture headquarters for the first time since Robert's funeral. The receptionist's jaw dropped when I approached the desk. Mrs. Wilson, Ms. Sterling, she stammered. We weren't expecting you. I've had an appointment with Elena for weeks, I replied, with a confidence that felt both foreign and familiar. My hair was freshly styled, my department store clothes replaced with a simple but elegant ensemble from my old designer collection. Elena emerged from her office, her face lighting up when she saw me. Margaret, right on time. She embraced me warmly, then whispered, Everyone's here. I nodded, my heart racing as we walked toward the conference room. Inside waited the senior design team, many faces new to me, some old colleagues who had stuck with the company through the years. Everyone, Elena announced. For those who haven't had the pleasure, this is Margaret Sterling Wilson, our founder and still 40% owner of Wilson Bridal Couture. The room buzzed with excitement. I took a deep breath and stepped forward. I've been away too long, I began, my voice growing stronger with each word. Today, I'm not here to take over or disrupt your excellent work. I'm here to discuss a special project. For the next hour, I outlined my vision for a charitable extension of our brand, creating wedding dresses for deserving brides who couldn't afford them. The team's enthusiasm was palpable as we discussed logistics and designs. Afterward, Elena walked me to her office. You were magnificent, she said, closing the door behind us. Now, tell me what's really going on with Amanda. I sank into a chair. She's scrambling to find a new venue. The wedding's been postponed to August. Has she contacted you? Not directly, I said. Derek called my lawyer, who informed him that any further wedding expenses would need to come from them. He seemed shocked to learn I wasn't an impoverished widow. Elena laughed. Amateur. A simple Google search would have told him everything. That's just it, I said. Amanda has spent years minimizing my career, calling it just the fashion industry compared to Derek's family's real money in shipping. I doubt she's ever mentioned my maiden name to him. Speaking of your name, Elena said, the quarterly industry gala is next month. As a major shareholder, you should attend. My stomach tightened. I haven't been to a public event in 5 years. Exactly. Elena leaned forward. Margaret, your name still carries weight. One appearance would remind everyone that you haven't disappeared. You've just been quiet. Later that afternoon, I visited our production floor. The seamstresses, some who had worked with me for decades, surrounded me with hugs and excited chatter. One of them, Maria, pulled me aside. Miss Sterling, my daughter Sophia is engaged. She admires your work so much. Bring her in, I said impulsively. I'd love to meet her. As I left the building, my phone rang. Amanda. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to her message in my car. Mom, we need to talk about the wedding. It's a disaster. People keep asking questions I can't answer. Call me back. I started the engine, not rushing to return her call. For the first time in years, I had more important things to do than rescue my daughter from her own decisions. That evening, I opened my closet and pushed past the plain, forgettable clothes that had become my uniform. In the back, preserved in garment bags, hung the collection I'd designed before retiring, clothes that embodied Margaret Sterling. My fingers traced the fine fabrics as a plan formed in my mind. On what should have been Amanda's wedding day, I sat in Elena's office, watching the chaos unfold through social media. Confused guests were posting from 3 different venues, none of which were hosting the Wilson Reynolds wedding. This is brutal, Elena winced, scrolling through her phone. Wedding disaster is trending locally. Amanda never communicated the postponement properly, I said, feeling a twinge of pity despite everything. Some guests got email updates, some didn't. My phone buzzed with a text from Maria. My daughter Sophia would love to meet you tomorrow at 2 p.m. if that works. I quickly confirmed the appointment as Elena looked up from her phone with a gleam in her eye. Derek's been doing his homework, she said, turning her screen toward me. The browser showed search results for Margaret Sterling bridal designer with dozens of industry articles, awards, and profiles. Took him long enough, I replied. What do you think will happen now? I shrugged. Either he'll run for the hills or become even more determined to marry into the Sterling legacy. The answer came that evening when my doorbell rang. Derek stood there, looking considerably less polished than usual. Mrs. Wilson, he began, may I come in? I think we've had a misunderstanding. I reluctantly let him enter my modest apartment, watching as he assessed the simple furnishings with new eyes. I've been researching your career, he said, sitting stiffly on my couch. You're quite accomplished. Yes. Amanda never really explained the extent of your influence in the fashion world. Amanda has spent years pretending I was just a seamstress, I said flatly. It suited her narrative. Derek shifted uncomfortably. About the wedding venue, the venue I was paying for without acknowledgement? While my daughter told me I was too embarrassing to attend, he had the decency to look ashamed. There's been a terrible misunderstanding. Of course we want you at the wedding. Now that you know who I am. That's not fair, he protested. But his eyes betrayed him. What about Riverside Assisted Living? I asked quietly. His face went pale. How did you— The family laptop, I said. Neither of you ever log out. Derek stood abruptly. Mrs. Wilson, Margaret, surely you understand we were only thinking of your comfort. A woman of your stature shouldn't be living in this place. I rose to my feet, my voice steady. This place has been my sanctuary, and it's not your decision where I live. Of course, he backpedaled. We should discuss this as a family. Amanda is devastated by all this. Is she? Or is she devastated by the public embarrassment? Derek checked his watch nervously. I should go, but please consider reconciling with Amanda. The new wedding date is August 5th. We'd be honored to have you design her dress. After he left, I laughed bitterly. 2 months ago, I was an embarrassment. Now they'd be honored by my contribution. The next day, Sophia arrived at the studio with her mother. A nurse at the local hospital, she was saving for a modest wedding while supporting her younger siblings. Miss Sterling, she gasped when I greeted her. I can't believe I'm meeting you. Your designs inspired me to start sewing. As we talked, I found myself drawn to her genuine warmth and passion. When she shyly mentioned her wedding budget constraints, I made a decision. Sophia, would you allow me to design your dress as a gift? I'm launching a new charitable initiative, and you'd be my perfect first bride. Her eyes filled with tears. Are you serious? That would be a dream come true. As she hugged me, I caught Elena's knowing smile across the room. We both recognized the perfect canvas for my return to design had just walked through the door. 6 weeks after canceling the venue, I stood in the Wilson Bridal Couture Design Studio, pins between my lips as I adjusted the bodice on Sophia's wedding dress. The exquisite family lace that had been intended for Amanda's gown now graced Sophia's simple but elegant design. It's like you're reading my mind, Sophia whispered, staring at her reflection. I never imagined wearing something so beautiful. I stepped back to assess my work, feeling truly alive for the first time in years. Every bride deserves to feel extraordinary, regardless of budget. The studio door opened as Elena entered with an elegant older woman. Margaret, you remember Diane Lawrence from Vogue Bridal? My hands froze. Diane had been covering the bridal industry for 20 years. Diane, it's been too long. Margaret Sterling in the flesh. Diane smiled, approaching with outstretched hands. The rumors are true. You've returned. Just for special projects, I said cautiously. Diane's eyes swept over Sophia's dress. Special indeed. I heard whispers about your charitable initiative. Would you consider an exclusive feature? Before I could answer, the studio door burst open. Amanda stood in the doorway, her face flushed with anger. Her eyes locked on Sophia's dress, specifically on the family lace adorning it. Mom, what is this? Her voice was dangerously quiet. Amanda, I said calmly, this is a private fitting. She stormed into the room, circling Sophia with disbelieving eyes. That's my lace, my dress design. I straightened my shoulders, meeting her gaze steadily. This is my design, using family lace that belongs to me. Sophia is the first bride in our new charitable program. Charitable program? Amanda's voice rose. You're giving away my wedding dress to a stranger? Sophia stepped down from the pedestal, visibly uncomfortable. I should go. No, I said firmly, placing a reassuring hand on her arm. You're scheduled for another 30 minutes. Diane observed the scene with journalistic interest, while Elena moved protectively closer to Sophia. I turned to Amanda. We can discuss this in private after Sophia's fitting. Either wait quietly or come back later. You can't be serious, Amanda hissed. After everything we've been through. Everything we've been through? My voice didn't rise, but the studio fell silent anyway. You told me I was too embarrassing to attend your wedding. You planned to put me in a home after your honeymoon, and now you're upset about a dress? Amanda's face paled. You read our emails? Yes. Those were private. So was my humiliation at the bridal salon, I countered. Diane cleared her throat. Margaret, perhaps we should reschedule our interview. No need, I smiled professionally. Sophia's story is exactly what your readers will connect with. A dedicated nurse, saving lives while planning her wedding on a modest budget. Amanda's face contorted with fury as she realized a Vogue bridal editor was witnessing her behavior. Mom, we need to talk, now. I'm working, I replied, turning back to Sophia's dress. My receptionist can help you schedule an appointment for later this week. Schedule an appointment? With my own mother? I met her eyes without flinching. That's how professional relationships work, Amanda. You made it clear we don't have a personal one anymore. After a moment of stunned silence, Amanda turned and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Sophia looked at me with concerned eyes. Miss Sterling, I don't want to cause problems with your daughter. I squeezed her hand. You aren't causing anything, dear. And please, call me Margaret. Later, after everyone had left, Elena found me sketching at my desk. That was quite a scene, she said, placing a cup of tea beside me. It needed to happen, I replied, not looking up from my design. The industry gala is next week, she reminded me gently. Are you ready to make your official comeback? I set down my pencil and met her gaze. You know, I spent 5 years disappearing after Robert died. I thought I was grieving him, but I was also hiding from myself. I touched the sketch of Sophia's completed dress. I'm done hiding. Elena smiled. The great Margaret Sterling returns. The industry won't know what hit it. Neither will Amanda, I added quietly, turning back to my design with renewed purpose. The night of the Metropolitan Bridal Industry Gala arrived, 8 weeks after the venue cancellation. I stood in my bedroom, staring at my reflection. Gone was the invisible woman with hunched shoulders and forgettable clothes. Margaret Sterling had returned, dressed in a sleek black evening gown of my own design, my silver hair styled in an elegant updo. You look stunning, Elena said, arriving to pick me up. Everyone's buzzing about your appearance tonight. The butterflies in my stomach intensified. It's just an industry event. It's your re-emergence, Elena corrected. And the timing couldn't be better with the Vogue bridal piece coming out next week. At the gala, conversations halted as we entered. I felt dozens of eyes tracking our progress across the ballroom. Some faces I recognized from years past. Others were new to the industry, but clearly knew exactly who I was. Margaret Sterling, a tall man approached, hand extended. Julian Reed, Bridal Elegance magazine. Your influence has been sorely missed. Thank you. Julian, I replied, surprised by how easily I fell back into this world. Though Elena has done a magnificent job with the company. Teamwork? Elena winked. Margaret is being modest about her continued involvement. I shot her a look, but she just smiled innocently. We both knew this narrative, that I'd remained involved behind the scenes rather than truly stepped away, would serve the company better. As the evening progressed, I was surrounded by designers, editors, and industry executives eager to discuss my return. I found myself genuinely enjoying the conversations, the creative energy I'd denied myself for too long. During dinner, I was seated at the head table with other industry icons. The chairman of the Bridal Association approached the podium for announcements. Before we proceed with our awards, I'd like to acknowledge a special guest tonight. 5 years ago, our industry lost one of its guiding lights when Margaret Sterling stepped back from public life following personal tragedy. Tonight, we're honored to welcome her back. The spotlight found me as applause erupted throughout the ballroom. I raised my hand in acknowledgement, feeling unexpectedly emotional as a standing ovation continued for nearly a minute. Thank you, I said simply when the microphone was offered. It's good to be home. After the ceremony, as Elena and I prepared to leave, a waiter approached with a note. From a Mr. Reynolds, ma'am. Derek's handwriting was instantly recognizable. "We need to talk. Vivian just realized who you are. Please call me." I tucked the note into my clutch without commenting. Outside, as we waited for our car, photographers called my name, cameras flashing. For the first time in years, I didn't shrink from the attention. The next morning, images from the gala dominated industry publications and social media. "Margaret Sterling returns," announced Bridal Weekly's headline, above a photo of me accepting the association's impromptu Lifetime Achievement Award. My phone began ringing before 8 a.m. I ignored calls from Amanda and Derek, but answered when Sophia's name appeared. "Margaret, I just saw the news," she exclaimed. "You're famous. Why didn't you tell me?" I laughed. "It never seemed relevant to your dress. My friends can't believe Margaret Sterling is designing my wedding gown. The hospital nurses are going crazy." After we hung up, I checked my voicemail. 5 messages from Derek, increasingly urgent. I finally listened to the last one. "Margaret, please call me. Vivian is beside herself. She's collected your designs for years. She didn't connect you with Amanda's mother until seeing the gala photos. We need to discuss the wedding immediately." I deleted the message without returning the call. Later that day, Elena forwarded an email that had come through the company website. "I'm reaching out regarding my wedding dress. As the daughter of Margaret Sterling, I naturally assumed I would have the honor of wearing one of her designs. Due to a family misunderstanding, arrangements were delayed. I'd like to schedule a consultation at your earliest convenience. Amanda Wilson." "The audacity," Elena commented when I called her. "She doesn't even acknowledge what happened." "She's desperate," I replied. "The new venue is subpar. Half the guests are confused about the date change. And now she's realized who her mother actually is in this industry. What will you do?" I considered the question carefully. "Nothing. Let her wait for a response that won't come." That evening my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Vivian Reynolds on my doorstep, clutching a vintage issue of Bridal Couture featuring my work. "Mrs. Wilson, Ms. Sterling," she stammered. "I hope you'll forgive this intrusion. I had to come personally to express my admiration and to apologize for any misunderstanding." I regarded her coolly. "There was no misunderstanding, Mrs. Reynolds. Your son and my daughter made their feelings quite clear." "I had no idea who you were," she insisted, her social polish cracking. "Please, won't you reconsider attending the wedding? Perhaps even creating Amanda's gown? How interesting that my worth as mother of the bride depends on my professional status," I observed. "Please excuse me, I have a busy day tomorrow." As I closed the door on her shocked face, I felt no satisfaction, only a quiet certainty that I was finally valuing myself properly after years of allowing others to diminish me. 10 weeks after the venue cancellation, I sat in my newly established office at Wilson Bridal Couture, reviewing applications for our charitable bridal program. The initiative, officially named Sterling Hearts, had generated unexpected media attention following Diane's Vogue bridal piece about Sophia. My assistant knocked lightly on the door. "Ms. Sterling, your 11 o'clock is here." "Thank you, Rachel," I replied, closing the folder. "Send her in." I stood as Sophia entered, accompanied by her mother and 2 bridesmaids. "Margaret!" Sophia embraced me warmly. "These are my bridesmaids, Jenna and Teresa. They still can't believe I'm wearing a Margaret Sterling original." I greeted everyone with a smile. "Let's see how the final adjustments look." As Sophia changed into her gown, I chatted with her mother and friends, learning about their lives and Sophia's upcoming wedding to her high school sweetheart. Their genuine excitement was refreshing after years of Amanda's status-conscious approach to relationships. When Sophia emerged in her completed gown, the room fell silent. The simple silhouette showcased the family lace perfectly, creating an effect that was both timeless and contemporary. Sophia's eyes filled with tears as she saw herself in the mirror. "It's more beautiful than I imagined," she whispered. "You make it beautiful," I replied, adjusting the lace at her shoulder. "A dress is just fabric until the right bride gives it meaning." After they left, I walked through the design studio, stopping to check on other projects in progress. The energy in the workspace had transformed since my return, with younger designers seeking my input and veteran staff sharing stories with new hires about the company's early days. Elena joined me as I reviewed a junior designer's sketch. "The Sterling Hearts program has 23 applications already," she said quietly, "and retail inquiries have increased 40% since your Vogue feature." I nodded, making a small adjustment to the sketch before handing it back with an encouraging smile. "We'll need to establish a selection committee for the program. I can't personally design for everyone." The board wants to discuss reopening the Sterling Signature Collection, Elena continued as we walked toward the conference room. Your limited involvement would be required. I considered this as we passed the reception area, where a delivery man was dropping off an elaborate flower arrangement. Rachel intercepted us with the card. Please reconsider your position. The family would be honored by your presence. Vivian Reynolds. I handed the card to Elena. Third delivery this week. Have these sent to the Children's Hospital like the others. Elena raised an eyebrow. Amanda must be desperate if she's enlisted Vivian to send flowers. Derek's doing, I corrected. He's realized the social capital my name carries. Amanda is likely still processing her embarrassment. Later that afternoon, I visited the production floor where Sophia's bridesmaid dresses were being completed at cost, my additional gift to her. The head seamstress pulled me aside to show me a special order that had come in. It's for the Reynolds-Wilson wedding, she explained hesitantly. The mother of the groom ordered it directly. We weren't sure if you wanted us to accept the commission. I examined the order form, a mother of the groom ensemble in Vivian's size, with specific requests for sterling signature elements. Complete the order, I decided after a moment, but I won't be personally involved. That evening, I attended a charity fundraiser for educational programs in underserved communities, my first non-industry social event in years. Several guests recognized me from recent media coverage, approaching with compliments about the Sterling Hearts initiative. As I discussed potential collaborations with the charity's director, I noticed Derek watching me from across the room. He made his way over during a break in the conversation. Margaret, he greeted me with forced warmth. What a pleasant surprise. Derek, I acknowledged coolly. I wasn't aware you supported educational initiatives. He adjusted his tie uncomfortably. Vivian serves on several charitable boards. I'm representing the family tonight. He lowered his voice. Have you received our messages? Amanda is devastated by this continued estrangement. Is she? I replied evenly. She hasn't attempted to contact me directly even once. She's afraid you'll reject her, he insisted. The wedding is only 8 weeks away. Surely we can move past this misunderstanding. I met his gaze steadily. There's no misunderstanding, Derek. Amanda made her feelings clear, as did you with your assisted living plans. His expression tightened. That was a contingency plan, nothing more. Given your financial situation, which we now fully appreciate, we naturally would reconsider. How generous, I remarked dryly. If you'll excuse me, I see someone I need to speak with. As I turned away, he caught my arm. Margaret, be reasonable. Your continued absence is creating unnecessary complications. I removed his hand from my arm, my voice low but firm. My absence is not the complication, Derek. It's the consequence. Walking away, I felt his eyes on my back but didn't turn around. For the first time in decades, I was standing firmly in my own power, and it felt magnificent. 12 weeks after the venue cancellation, with Amanda's rescheduled wedding date approaching, I found myself busier than I'd been in years. Sterling Hearts had selected 10 deserving brides, including Sophia, whose wedding was just 2 weeks away. The board had approved relaunching the Sterling Signature Collection, and I was dividing my time between designing new pieces and mentoring the young designers who would carry the line forward. On this particular morning, I was reviewing fabric samples in the design studio when Rachel appeared at the door. Ms. Sterling, Amanda Wilson is here. She doesn't have an appointment. I set down my sketches, heart racing despite my outward calm. How does she look? Rachel hesitated, determined and nervous. Show her in, I decided, standing to face the door. When Amanda entered, I barely recognized her. Gone was the polished, confident woman who had dismissed me at the bridal salon. This Amanda looked tired, her designer clothes slightly rumpled, her expression uncertain. Mom, she began, then corrected herself. Ms. Sterling, thank you for seeing me. What can I do for you, Amanda? I kept my voice professional. She glanced around the studio, taking in the prestige of the space. I've been trying to reach you for weeks. Through Derek and Vivian, I noted. Not directly. I was afraid, she admitted, sitting when I gestured to a chair. The things I said, I didn't know how to face you. And now? Now I have no choice. She twisted her engagement ring nervously. The wedding is falling apart. Half the guests have declined after the venue confusion. Derek's family friends are suddenly unavailable. My bridesmaids are asking questions I can't answer. I'm sorry to hear that, I said neutrally. How can I help? She looked up, surprise crossing her face. You'd help me? After everything? I didn't say that, I clarified. I asked what you're looking for. Amanda took a deep breath. I need a dress. Your design, and, she faltered, your presence at the wedding. Why? Because you're my mother, she said automatically. That wasn't enough reason 2 months ago. She flinched. I was wrong. I was scared of not measuring up to Vivian's standards. And now? Now I understand who you really are. Her voice cracked. The woman everyone respects. The name that opens doors. I studied her face, searching for genuine remorse but finding only calculation. So you want to leverage my reputation to salvage your wedding? That's not fair, she protested. Isn't it? You haven't once apologized for what you said or for planning to put me in a home without my knowledge. Tears filled her eyes. I'm sorry. I was trying to impress Derek's family. They're so particular about appearances. So am I replied, rising from my chair. I've built my reputation on integrity and genuine relationships. I can't design your dress, Amanda. Can't or won't? Her voice hardened. Both. I've committed to other projects, including Sophia's wedding. The charity case? Amanda scoffed, her momentary vulnerability vanishing. You'd rather help strangers than your own daughter? Sophia never asked me to hide who I am, I said quietly. She values me for myself, not for what my name can do for her social standing. Amanda stood abruptly. This is about punishing me. No, I corrected her. This is about respecting myself enough not to be used by people who were ashamed of me until they learned about my status. Derek was right, she said bitterly. You're being unreasonable. Perhaps. But I'm also being honest. Something you might try. She grabbed her purse, anger replacing her earlier contrition. The wedding is August 5th. We've saved you a place in case you reconsider. After she left, Elena found me staring out the studio window. That looked intense, she commented. She wants to use my name to rescue her social standing, I said. Not a word about our actual relationship. Elena squeezed my shoulder sympathetically. Some people never learn. That evening, I visited Sophia's final dress fitting. Her genuine joy as she twirled in the completed gown washed away the bitter taste of Amanda's visit. 1 more week, Sophia exclaimed. I can't believe my wedding day is almost here. Are you nervous? I asked, adjusting her veil. About marrying Miguel? Never. About walking down the aisle with everyone watching? Terrified, she laughed. You'll be radiant, I assured her, and focused on the person waiting for you, not the people watching. She hugged me impulsively. Thank you for everything, Margaret. Not just the dress, for showing me that kindness still exists in unexpected places. Later, as I drove home, I reflected on the contrast between Amanda's calculated approach and Sophia's authentic gratitude. My phone rang through the car's speaker. Derek. Margaret, we need to talk, he began without greeting. Amanda told me about your meeting. There's nothing to discuss, I replied. I disagree. This feud has gone far enough. You're jeopardizing Amanda's future over a misunderstanding. Her future with you mean, I observed. Is your family threatening to withdraw support? His silence confirmed my suspicion. I thought so, I continued. My name has value now that you know who I really am. But Amanda is still the same person who told me I'd embarrass her at the wedding. People say things they don't mean when they're stressed, he argued. The most honest things are often said under stress, I countered. Goodbye, Derek. As I ended the call, I realized I felt no satisfaction in their predicament. Only a profound sadness for what might have been, and gratitude for the authentic connections I was building in my reclaimed life. Sophia's wedding day dawned bright and clear, exactly 14 weeks after Amanda had suggested I stay home from hers. I arrived early at the small church where the ceremony would take place, carrying the bridal emergency kit I'd prepared. Sophia's mother met me at the side entrance, hugging me tightly. Margaret, I can't thank you enough. This day means everything to Sophia. I wouldn't miss it, I assured her as we headed to the bride's room. Sophia sat in front of a small mirror, her bridesmaids arranging her hair. When she saw me, she jumped up and embraced me. You came, she exclaimed. Of course, I smiled, setting down my kit. Let's make sure everything is perfect. For the next hour, I made minor adjustments to Sophia's dress and her bridesmaids' ensembles. The atmosphere was joyful and relaxed, filled with laughter and happy tears. Everything a wedding preparation should be. As guests began arriving, I slipped into the church to take my seat. Elena joined me, elegant in a dress from our new collection. How's our bride? She whispered. Radiant, I replied. And actually excited to marry the groom, not just have a wedding. The ceremony was beautiful in its simplicity. When Sophia appeared in the doorway, a collective gasp rose from the guests. The dress, my design, transformed the already beautiful young woman into an ethereal vision. But it was her face, shining with love as she looked at Miguel, that brought tears to my eyes. After the ceremony, I lingered at the back of the church, watching the photographer arrange group shots. Sophia spotted me and waved me over. "Margaret must be in the photos," she insisted. "She made this day possible." Before I could protest, I was positioned beside Sophia and her mother for several pictures. The photographer, recognizing my name, asked for a shot of just Sophia and me with the dress. "The great Margaret Sterling returns to bridal design," he grinned. "This will be in every magazine next month." At the reception, I was seated at the family table, an honor that moved me deeply. Throughout the evening, guests stopped by to compliment the dress and express amazement that Sophia had been chosen for the Sterling Hearts program. During the dancing, I stepped outside for a moment of quiet. The night air was cool against my skin as I reflected on the day's genuine emotions. My phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. "Wedding tomorrow. Final chance. Vivian says dock's still open." I slipped the phone back into my purse without responding. Tomorrow was Amanda's rescheduled wedding day, a fact I deliberately pushed from my mind during Sophia's celebration. Sophia found me on the terrace a few minutes later, taking a break from the noise. "Just catching my breath," I smiled. "You look happy." "I am," she said, her eyes shining. "Miguel and I can't afford a fancy honeymoon or big house, but we have everything that matters." "That's the secret most people never learn," I told her. She hesitated, then said, "Your daughter's wedding is tomorrow, isn't it? One of my colleagues received a re-invitation." I nodded, surprised by her awareness. "Will you go?" she asked gently. "No," I said simply. "Some bridges can't be rebuilt." Sophia squeezed my hand. "Family is complicated, but for what it's worth, you've become part of ours now." The simple statement touched me deeply. I'd lost one daughter but gained an extended family of women whose lives I was helping to transform. When I returned to my apartment that night, an envelope waited under my door, a hand-delivered wedding invitation from Amanda and Derek, marked private and personal. Inside was a note in Amanda's handwriting. "It's not too late to be part of this day. Your seat will be waiting." I placed the invitation on my desk without opening it fully. Tomorrow, while Amanda walked down the aisle at her hastily arranged second-choice venue, I would be meeting with potential designers for the expanded Sterling Hearts program. My phone rang, Elena checking in after the wedding. "Sophia looked stunning," she said. "The photos are already generating buzz online." "She was a beautiful bride," I agreed. "Inside and out." "Amanda's wedding is tomorrow," Elena said carefully. "Yes. Are you sure about your decision?" I looked at the unopened invitation on my desk. "Some people only value you when you become useful to them. I've spent too many years being invisible to suddenly become a trophy mother." After we hung up, I opened my sketchbook and began drawing, not wedding gowns, but the first designs for a Mother of the Bride collection I'd been contemplating. Women like me deserved to feel beautiful and valued at their children's weddings, not hidden away as potential embarrassments. As midnight approached, I finally turned off my light, at peace with my decision. Amanda had made her choice 8 weeks ago. I had simply honored it. 4 months after Amanda's wedding disaster, I stood in the newly opened Sterling Atelier, watching as clients browsed the exclusive collection. The boutique, a separate entity from Wilson Bridal Couture, housed both the Sterling signature line and served as headquarters for the Sterling Hearts program, which had now helped 15 deserving brides. Elena joined me as I adjusted a display. "The quarterly numbers exceeded projections by 30%, she murmured. "The board is ecstatic." "And how many applications for Sterling Hearts this month?" I asked. 57, she replied. "We'll need to expand the selection committee." I nodded, surveying the elegant space with satisfaction. What had begun as a personal project had grown into something meaningful, touching lives beyond my own. "Ms. Sterling?" a sales associate approached. "There's someone here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment." I turned to find Amanda standing awkwardly by the entrance. The confident socialite was gone, replaced by someone I barely recognized. Her designer clothes had been replaced by a simple blouse and pants, her makeup minimal, her expression uncertain. "Mom," she said quietly, "can we talk?" Elena squeezed my arm and discreetly moved away as I gestured toward my private office. Amanda followed me silently, her eyes taking in the success surrounding us. Inside the office, I took my seat behind the desk. "What can I do for you, Amanda?" She remained standing, fingers twisting nervously. "I wanted to tell you in person. Derek and I have separated." This wasn't what I'd expected. "I'm sorry to hear that." "Don't be," she said with surprising bitterness. "The wedding was a disaster. Half the guests didn't show. Those who did whispered throughout the ceremony. Derek's business connections began distancing themselves immediately after. What happened? What happened? She repeated. You happened, or rather, your absence happened. Once everyone realized who my mother was, they couldn't understand why you weren't there. The rumors started immediately that I'd done something unforgivable to the great Margaret Sterling. I kept my expression neutral. And had you? She sank into the chair opposite my desk. Yes, she whispered. I see that now. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, I asked, Why are you here, Amanda? She straightened her shoulders. I need a job. A job? I repeated, surprised. Derek's family cut us off after the separation. I have some savings, but not enough. I need to work. I studied her face, looking for signs of manipulation, but finding only defeat. Why come to me? There are plenty of places you could apply with your background. Because I need to understand, she said, her voice breaking slightly. I need to understand who you really are, who I really am. I've spent my life running from our connection, pretending my successful mother was just a simple seamstress. I need to know why. I leaned back in my chair, considering her words. What exactly are you asking for? An entry-level position. Anything. I'll start at the bottom. Why should I hire you? I asked bluntly. What skills do you bring? She blinked, clearly not expecting the question. I have a business degree. I speak 3 languages. I've organized charity events. Those are credentials, not skills, I pointed out. Can you sew, design, manage production schedules, handle client consultations? No, she admitted, but I can learn. I considered her request carefully. This wasn't about revenge or reconciliation. It was about business and perhaps about healing. I have an opening for an administrative assistant in the Sterling Hearts program, I said finally. Long hours, basic pay, demanding work with clients from all backgrounds. You'd report to Elena, not me. Hope flickered in her eyes. I'll take it. Don't answer yet, I cautioned. This isn't a token position. You'll be expected to work harder than anyone else to prove yourself. There will be no special treatment. I understand. Do you? I asked. Because the Amanda I knew 8 months ago would have considered this position beneath her. She met my gaze directly for the first time. That Amanda doesn't exist anymore. She disappeared along with her social standing and her fiancé. I nodded slowly. Report to HR tomorrow at 8 a.m. If you're late, don't bother coming at all. As she stood to leave, she hesitated. Mom, thank you. Don't thank me yet, I replied. You haven't experienced Elena as a boss. A ghost of a smile crossed her face before she turned to go. At the door, she paused. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. For everything. After she left, Elena appeared in the doorway. Well, that was unexpected. Did I hear correctly that I'm getting a new assistant? If she shows up tomorrow, I confirmed. And if you're willing. Elena shrugged. Everyone deserves a second chance. Even entitled daughters who break their mothers' hearts. The next morning, I arrived at the office earlier than usual. To my surprise, Amanda was already waiting outside the HR department, dressed appropriately for an entry-level position, a notebook in hand. Our eyes met briefly as I passed. I nodded slightly, and she straightened her shoulders in response. It wasn't reconciliation, not yet, but it was a beginning. 6 months after hiring Amanda, I stood in the back of the Sterling Atelier's main showroom, watching her assist a bride and her mother. The transformation in my daughter was remarkable. Gone was the entitled socialite who had once dismissed me as an embarrassment. In her place was a dedicated young woman who arrived early each day, stayed late, and never complained about the menial tasks that filled her schedule. Elena joined me, following my gaze. She's good with the mothers, she observed. Better than with the brides, actually. She understands their perspective now, I replied. The desire to be part of their daughter's big day without overshadowing it. Amanda caught my eye across the room and gave a small, professional nod before returning her attention to the clients. Our relationship remained primarily professional. Wounds that deep didn't heal overnight, but a tentative personal connection had begun to form through shared work and quiet conversations. Later that afternoon, I was reviewing applications for the next round of Sterling Hearts when Amanda knocked on my office door. The Martinez file you requested, she said, placing a folder on my desk. And Elena asked me to remind you about the board meeting tomorrow. Thank you, I replied. As she turned to leave, I added, How is the Mother of the Bride collection coming along? She paused. This was the first major project Elena had assigned her, researching market needs for an expanded line serving mothers of brides and grooms. I've completed the initial survey analysis, she said. The results are interesting. How so? Amanda hesitated, then continued with growing confidence. Most mothers feel overlooked in the wedding process. They want to look beautiful without competing with the bride, but the available options are either matronly or inappropriate. There's a huge untapped market. I nodded, impressed by her insight. Have you shared this with the design team? Not yet. I wanted to organize the data more thoroughly first. Good instinct, I approved. They'll respond better to comprehensive research. A small smile flickered across her face at the praise. These moments still felt fragile between us, a careful rebuilding of trust that could easily crumble. That evening, as I prepared to leave, I passed the conference room where Amanda was still working, surrounded by survey data and market research. It's after 7, I noted from the doorway. She looked up, startled. I lost track of time. Elena doesn't expect you to work this late. I know, she replied, but I want to get this right. It's important. I studied her for a moment. Why is this particular project so important to you? Amanda set down her pen, considering the question. Because I understand these women now, she said finally. The mothers who want to be part of their children's lives without being pushed aside or hidden away. Who want to be valued for who they are, not just their role. The parallel to our own relationship hung unspoken between us. Join me for dinner, I said impulsively. You need to eat, and we can discuss your findings. Surprise crossed her face. Really? Unless you have other plans. No, she said quickly. Dinner would be nice. At the small Italian restaurant around the corner, we initially kept the conversation professional, discussing the Mother of the Bride collection and upcoming Sterling Hearts events. Gradually, as the meal progressed, we ventured into more personal territory. I saw Sophia last week, I mentioned. She's expecting their first child in the spring. The nurse from your first Sterling Hearts wedding? Amanda asked. Elena mentioned she's become a friend. She has, I confirmed. Her mother is knitting baby clothes, but I'm designing a christening gown. Amanda nodded, twirling pasta around her fork. You've built a wonderful community through Sterling Hearts. The women speak about you with such admiration. It's been healing, I admitted, finding purpose again after retreating from life for so long. She met my eyes directly. I never understood what you were going through after Dad died. I was so focused on my own life, my own social climbing. We both made mistakes, I acknowledged. I allowed myself to become invisible. No, Amanda shook her head firmly. I pushed you into invisibility because I was embarrassed by what I didn't understand. There's no equivalence in our mistakes. The honesty of her statement touched me deeply. You're different now, I observed. Losing everything will do that, she said with a wry smile. Though I didn't lose everything, did I? I still had somewhere to go when it all fell apart. You would have found your way regardless, I told her. You're stronger than you knew. As we walked back to the parking garage, Amanda spoke again. I want you to know something. I'm not working at Sterling Atelier to get back in your good graces or to access your connections. I'm there because for the first time in my life, I'm proud of what I do, proud of being associated with your name and your vision. I stopped walking and turned to face her. That means a great deal to me. When I was preparing client files yesterday, I came across a mother who was struggling to afford her daughter's wedding. I found myself thinking about how we could help her through Sterling Hearts, even though her daughter wasn't the applicant. Amanda's voice grew passionate. That's when I realized how much I've changed. 6 months ago, I would have judged her circumstances. Now I see the love behind her sacrifice. In that moment, I glimpsed the daughter I'd always hoped Amanda would become. Compassionate, insightful, genuine. Submit a formal recommendation, I said. If her situation meets the criteria, we'll consider her for the program. Amanda's face lit up. Really? The program exists to help deserving families. If you believe in her case, present it. As we reached our cars, Amanda hesitated. Mom, thank you. Not just for dinner, but for the second chance. I know I didn't deserve it. Everyone deserves a second chance, I told her. Even entitled daughters and invisible mothers. She smiled at the gentle teasing, a new ease between us. See you tomorrow, boss. 3 weeks later, I watched from the back of the Sterling Atelier as Amanda presented her Mother of the Bride client to the Sterling Hearts Committee. Her voice was confident as she outlined the woman's story and why she deserved our help. Mrs. Collins has spent her life putting her children first, Amanda explained. She works 2 jobs to help pay for her daughter's education, and now she's selling family heirlooms to afford the wedding. She deserves to feel beautiful and valued on this important day. The committee voted unanimously to accept Mrs. Collins into the program. As everyone dispersed, Amanda caught my eye across the room, her expression a mixture of gratitude and pride. I nodded my approval, my heart full. The journey from that devastating day at the bridal salon to this moment had been long and painful, but necessary. We had both transformed, me from an invisible woman to a confident leader, Amanda from an entitled socialite to a compassionate professional. As I turned to head back to my office, Amanda fell into step beside me. "I was thinking," she said hesitantly, "the mother of the bride collection needs a face for the marketing campaign. Someone who embodies strength, elegance, and authenticity. Do you have someone in mind?" I asked. She smiled, the genuine smile that was becoming more frequent these days. "I spent so much time being embarrassed by who you were. I never appreciated who you are. Now I know the difference." She touched my arm gently. "There's only one Margaret Sterling, and it's time the world saw her again, in all her sophisticated glory." I covered her hand with mine, the final walls between us crumbling in that simple touch. We weren't just boss and employee, or even mother and daughter in that moment. We were two women who had found their way back to each other through honesty, hard work, and the courage to change. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.